Hey, vans aren't just for soccer moms anymore. They also make fantastic street machines, as you're about to discover. Today on Horsepower TV. The 70s are gone, but vans are back. We'll slam a late model Astro with some hot new suspension pieces, then give it a cool new look with a body panel kit. Finally, we'll add some eye-grabbing graphics with a kit you can use in your driveway. Plus, head to Michigan where the top Mustang street machines battle it out. So hang on for Horsepower TV. Hi, and welcome to Horsepower TV. Oh, I know what you might be thinking, the parts truck just arrived, right? Well, wrong. This is the latest project here in the shop. Yep, vans are back, but with a little more high-tech twist than you remember in the 70s.
Yeah, you won't find any shag carpet or disco balls in this late model Astro. What you will find, though, is a 370 horse LT1 backed by an automatic overdrive transmission. Now, how the owner got that whole deal in there, though, is anybody's guess. The handling's been improved, too, with a 3.5-inch drop to lower the center of gravity, and it's got wider rubber on a set of billet wheels. Of course, the custom paint is set off by these graphics, and hey, we're even going to show you how to apply your own later on.
Yeah, you know, one of the coolest things about these vans is they're so affordable. If you shop around, you can actually get one for as little as $2 grand. Now, the first thing we're going to do with old Casper here is slam the suspension. Let me show you what we'll use. Now, up front, we've got a pair of 2-inch drop spindles that allow us to keep our full suspension travel and stock alignment specs. The springs here will give us another inch drop in the front, and for a 4-inch drop in the rear, well, we've got this flip kit. Now, what it does is relocate the rear end housing from under the springs to on top of them. We got this entire suspension kit from Bell Tech.
Before getting started, make sure that your vehicle is firmly supported by jack stands. Then we can get going by removing the caliper. And disconnecting the outer tie rod end. Next, remove the shock. And with the lower control arm supported with a floor jack, loosen the upper and lower ball joints. Then disconnect the sway bar links. Now, late model Astros have ABS, so the next part to come off is the rotor. That'll let us get to the ABS sensor and the dust shield. Use a chain to hold the spring in place, then we can lower the jack. There we go, and remove the spindle. Then we can get to that spring later.
Hey man, how's the disassembly going?
Great, I'm done here now and just about ready to start on the other side.
Great, while you're doing that, I want to show you the difference in our stock and replacement spindles. Now, on our new piece from Bell Tech, spindle moves up a couple of inches, while the location of the ball joint and steering knuckle remain the same. Now, that way we get the drop we want without changing the steering or drivability. Oh, it's always a good idea while everything's apart to repack these bearings in some fresh grease. The new springs are the first to go in. Then we install the new spindles by hanging them on the lower ball joints and raise the lower control arm with the floor jack to install the upper ball joints. We'll torque these nuts down to manufacturer specs, then install the rest of the assembly the opposite of the way you saw it come apart. With one exception though, we'll install new sway bars later, so we'll leave the end links off for now.
We're going to highlight that new lowered look with a set of niche throttles mounting a set of Goodyear Eagle HPs. Now the wheels are 17 by 8 inches wide, and they've got a 4 3/4 inch back spacing to help keep everything up inside the wheel well. The tires are 255/45 17s, and they've got a tread pattern that actually channels the water towards the outside edges to help prevent hydroplaning.
Now, since you want to drop the rear springs to install the flip kit, you want to support the van on its frame, not its suspension. We're also using the floor jack here to support our rear assembly while we remove the U-plate hardware. Then with the rear axle assembly lowered, we can remove the rear axle mounting isolators. The rear shackle bolts are removed next, followed by the forward spring eye bolts. Now we go ahead and remove the spring, mark it for orientation, and repeat everything on the other side with one extra step. You have to lower the gas tank to access the front spring mount bolts. Okay, with the spring out, I've installed these relocation plates and spacers. Now we can reinstall the forward spring hanger between the plates. You'll have to work with it a little bit. There we go. There she is. Good. With the front fasteners torqued to 40 foot-pounds, I can replace this old rear shackle with our new one here. Now, you want to make sure these ears are pointing toward the rear. Well, now Chuck's raising the rear end assembly again so we can slide the spring under the axle and reattach it at the front hanger and rear shackle. There we go.
I've repositioned this brake line to keep it from getting pinched when we add the U-bolts later on, and now we're ready for this new axle saddle. Now it goes right up in here to help locate the rear end properly to the spring, and we're also going to use this aluminum wedge to help restore the correct pinion angle. Now the fat end goes towards the rear of the vehicle. All right, we're ready to lower the rear end down. With the bottom support plate in place, loosely install the bolts and spacer tubes and the U-bolt. Then torque everything down to manufacturer specs. One final step here. We have to replace the stock snubbers with these urethane pieces that came in the kit. Then we can lower the van back down on the ground and torque the spring eye bolts to 74 foot-pounds.
Now, it's a good idea to recheck the torque on all the fasteners at 10, 100, and 1,000 miles.
Hey, I think it's a good idea if we take a little break right now.
That is a good idea. We'll be back with the shocks and bars for our fantastic project next. Later in the show, Mustangs head to Michigan for a record-breaking weekend of power pony racing.
For the latest news on Horsepower TV, check us out online at horsepowertv.com.
Hey, welcome back to the shop and our project Fantastic. Now, since we slammed the suspension on this thing, we're going to need some new shocks like these Nitroactives that we got from Bell Tech. Now, not only do they have the shorter travel that we need, but hey, they're also a high-pressure gas shock that are valved especially for that Astrovan.
Now, the final length in our suspension upgrade is a matched set of sway bars. The Astro didn't come from the factory with a rear sway bar, so we'll add this one to complement the front bar here. Now, just check the difference in thickness. We'll mount both of them with new urethane bushings to maximize steering response and minimize body roll. Well, now that we got the stance right, it's about time to add some styling to this Astro.
You bet. And to do that, we're going to bolt on this front air dam and rear valance that we got from A&A Specialties. Then we're going to add this cat eye shell that comes with a billet grill. Now we got this piece from APC. Of course, everything came to us in gray primer, so we had our painter Rick Harris shoot everything to match the van's body color.
Man, 7 screws and this thing came right out. I hope the new one goes in as easy.
Even easier, but with that old grill out of the way, hey, we're ready for this new air dam. Just loosen the 2 bolts holding each corner of the bumper and pull it down. After test fitting the air dam, remove it, there we go, and clean all the contact areas with a degreaser. Peel the plastic backing from the 2-sided tape. Position the air dam, then press the contact area to secure the tape, then tighten up the bolt. Installing that cat eye grill shell is almost as easy, but first we need to remove these corner running lights. Well, now we need to drill a 1 1/8 inch hole for our new turn signal socket. Then splice the wiring into the existing harness and check everything for proper operation. Give me the parking lights. All right, now the turn signals. Great. Our new grill shell is held in place with the stock screws and locations, but I'll tell you what, while I'm finishing this up, let's go check on Joe, see how he's doing out back.
All right. just got the rear bumper off, and as soon as I remove these corner caps here, we can test fit that rear valance that should go on much like that front air dam did. After test fitting, we can go ahead and clean the contact area. Then, of course, you expose the double-sided tape and press it into place. Now, right here, you're going to need a couple of sheet metal screws to secure this piece to the wheel well, and that'll require jacking up the van to get rid of that wheel for a while. Now, this will keep her in place.
Hey, great job. You know, that body kit really works well with our new stance here, but it needs a little something else.
I know what you're thinking, a little touch of Van Gogh. Well, you got all the work you're getting out of me for a while. I got to go cover a race.
Well, don't you go anywhere. I'll be back with some eye-grabbing graphics right after this. Welcome back to the shop. Well, now that the Astro is slammed and styled, hey, it really needs some graphics to set it off. And I'm going to show you a technique that you can even do at home. Now, this splash mask is going to add a splash of color to that old white box back there, and it's easy to use too. But first, we need to decide where we want to put that graphic. I decided to keep the graphic down low to take advantage of our van's lines and new stance. Now, before we do anything though, we need to prep the whole area with wax and grease remover. Next, lay down a guide tape to keep the graphic properly aligned. Tape the mask down without removing the backing to check positioning. Then peel the backing off and squeegee it down to remove air bubbles. Now remove the transfer paper. Finally, remove the cutout portions of the design to expose those that'll get paint. Well, speaking of paint, what I'm going to be using is some one-shot sign painter's enamel, and we got this from Eastwood. Now, I've got a little bit of maroon, some gray, vermilion, and fire red here, plus I've got a couple of pinstriping brushes and an old phone book to help us load paint on those brushes. Plus, I've also got a little bit of reducer here to help thin that paint later on. Now, I'm going to start with some of this fire red. Now, there's no real trick to properly loading your brush with paint. What you want to do is keep dipping it and working it back and forth until those bristles are fully saturated with paint. Now, once you start putting paint on the van, apply it in long, smooth strokes. Check this out. Since I removed all the emblems from our Astro, I included this little bow tie here in our design. Now, what do you say we make it red? Well, now, how about some maroon? You want to make sure that you clean your brush between colors very thoroughly to prevent any contamination. Once all the colors are down, remove the mask before the paint dries completely. That way the edges will stay nice and smooth. It's amazing what graphics can do for any street machine, including this big white refrigerator on wheels. Now, here's what we started with at the beginning of the show, and it only took us a weekend to complete our project Vantastic. Of course, it'll only take you a couple of minutes to check this out. We'll be right back.
Horsepower TV's Race of the Week is brought to you by Edelbrock, the leader in automotive performance for nearly 75 years.
You just wait what you're going to see coming. It's going to be very hot action.
All right, I hope you're ready for some real Mustang madness. We've landed at Mid-Michigan Motorplex for some NMRA-style drag racing. It's a Ford Festival of Power featuring some of the quickest ponies on the planet. The Paxton Pro 50 Mustang stampeded into qualifying rounds, immediately making this the fastest Ford event in history. In fact, records started to fall early in round one when Brian Schweitzer set a new class record with this 7.627 run. But hold hold on and move on to round two, where streetcar whiz Billy Glidden not only pitched in with a mop, he cleaned up on the competition with a 7.624, 3 thousandths better than Brian.
We've got a different engine in. Mickey Thompson's got a tire that we're experimenting with. That was actually the first run on it.
But wait, there's more. In round three, Joe Da Silva stepped up with this turbocharged 2000 to run a 7.61 at 190, a new ET and mile-an-hour record.
761! And we know we just got to come out here tomorrow and race one competitor at a time.
Okay, let's say you don't have the hard cash or hardware it takes to go Pro 5.0. Well, the cool thing about this series is there's a hot class for any pony that wants to play. For those who like to make power the natural way, and lots of it, there's the Edelbrock Hot Street class, one that attracted Bob Hanlon and his 83 several years ago.
I've always been a carbureted, naturally aspirated guy. I got into this a long time ago before the cars were fuel injected, and I've had this car new since '83.
Bob runs a 360 SVO motor with a Super Victor intake, making enough pure power to take him consistently into the 9s on 10.5-inch tires. Another cool class is Race Parts 2 EFI Renegade, with one power adder allowed, but with restrictions on things like heads, cam lift, and lifters that cut down on cost and carnage.
It's more of a tuning class than it is throwing money at it type class, you know. It's going to be the best person who could tune the best, you know, is going to be able to go the fastest as far as 60 foot, and getting it down the track straight, and stuff like that.
Renegade attracted the only woman running heads-up in this series, fearless Donna Sidor, a competitor who learned her racing ropes on the streets around Detroit.
I made a lot of guys mad. I am still making a lot of guys mad. There's still a lot of people that don't like the women out here doing it, but I have no say in this, in what they have comments towards me, except for the fact just get in your car and race me.
No thanks. Donna's got a Vortex supercharged 347 backed by a specialty C4 tranny and B&M Pro ratchet. She's serious about racing and about winning.
We come out here every time with the will to win, and hopefully the God's with us and we can get this done. And my mom bought me all my good luck bracelets, and I got them on, and hopefully we can take it to the winner's circle today.
Well, here on a rather overcast Sunday, it's about time for eliminations and time to see which of these fast Fords goes back to the Mustang corral as a winner. Sidor survived her first rounds of eliminations before beating top qualifier Meyer, who got the red light in this semifinal. Hot Street's Hanlon fought his way through the pack to earn his ticket to the finals. And in Pro 5.0, the title changes again as Glidden goes 7.57 on his way to the finals. Meanwhile, Da Silva hangs in there, beating Grebeck to set up a Glidden-Da Silva showdown. Then, after the last of several rain delays and under the lights, it's finally time for finals. Donna didn't have the power to overtake Claire Stewart, who ran a 9.93, but in Hot Street, Bangin' Bob defeated Sam LaManna to take his second top prize in a row. Then the ultimate late-night shootout. Glidden versus Da Silva for top money and honors in Pro 5.0. After mechanical failure makes Glidden red light, Joe makes more history with a 7.42 at 194 miles an hour.
I just want to thank God, and I want to thank my wife for letting me come to the races. My brother at the shop working hard, building my good motor.
And as they say, the list goes on. Just like the never-ending quest for quickness in heads-up Mustang racing. Join the Horsepower TV crew at the Import and Compact Showdown December 9th and 10th at Moroso Motorsports Park, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.
And now Hot Parts, brought to you by CarParts.com. Everything for your car, truck, van, or SUV.
Hey, do you ever think about breaking tradition? Well, now here's a new way to stop your street machine. It's a set of carbon metallic composite brake pads from Hawk Performance, and they're available in 2 different grades. Each one features a high-performance pad material that's not only easy on rotors, but they'll also outlast the originals. Now, pricing starts at under $50.
Here's something that'll lift your spirits along with your ride. It's a Pace Pro Sport jack from Argo Manufacturing, and it's got an aluminum frame, a steel lift beam, and high-speed hydraulics that'll lift your ride about 2.5 inches per stroke. It's also got an extra low lift pad that'll get under the lowest suspensions. All you got to do is get into your wallet for about $785.
Of course, you racers can make your suspension work a little bit harder too with these Stalker Star shocks from HAL. Now they're a direct bolt-in with adjustable controls for both bump and rebound. The body is made from a forged aluminum extrusion, so it's even stronger than billet. Plus, it's rebuildable using an optional factory kit. Now, racers claim that they've been able to trim up to 2/10 from their ETs using these shocks, and they're going to trim your budget by about $140 and up.
Well, all right. We hope you budget some time for our show next week. Here's a look at it. We'll help our Pro Touring pony keep its cool with a cooling system upgrade before we shift our attention to its need for an updated means of banging gears. We'll head west for a crash course on how the experts lay down eye-popping graphics and take you on the front lines of IHRA racing with the profile of Stage Steve Latent.
And remember, high-performance fun is what this show's all about.
For information about the products used in today's show and more, check us out online at horsepowertv.com. Horsepower TV is an RTM production.